This is why you died.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Is Why You Died. A Machiavellian experiment gone wrong, a mad scientist's wet dream of body parts and centrifuges and playing God. And also a podcast where we choose prompts at random from our little buckets of doom and then pick a horror movie based on that prompt. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you very much. And no matter who you are, please do the usual tradition that all content creators beg and plead for: like, share, and subscribe. As for myself, I am, as always, Sir Ian Dangerous, a.k.a. your Uncle Frank. And joining me, as always, are two savage beasts that go by the names Dan Marcha Madness and RyanRossLIVE. Hello, gentlemen, and welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Evening. So today, also in addition, everybody, we have a very special guest star on the show here to give us her perspective on today's horror feature du jour is the lovely Miss Sasha. Miss Sasha, we got Dictator Tot. Dictator Tot?
Yes. Hello. Hi.
Why? Can you tell us a quick reason for the name?
I love potatoes.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm very basic, I guess. I think they're beautiful in any form, and I just became the queen of potatoes.
Not just the queen, the authoritarian leader of potatoes, apparently.
That's true. I am. It started, I think, as Princess Potato was what it was. And then I decided to change it because I was like, no, that's not like authoritarian enough, you know? I'm the ultimate potato.
You got promoted.
Dictator.
And then you promoted yourself.
Promoted with force.
Queen wasn't aggressive enough.
Queen was not enough. I just skipped queen.
You went straight
Threw
to
that
ruling with an iron fist.
Yes, exactly.
It's appropriate, frankly.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Well, welcome to the show, Dictator Tot.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we invited you onto the show today is because of the unique perspective that we would like you to bring to the movie that Dan selected. Dan, this week you had a selection based on a prompt, and I would like you, if you would please, to tell everyone out there what prompt you chose, what movie you picked, and what the hell we are in for today.
Well, I chose the prompt foreign, and so there's different directions you could go. I was really leaning towards, should I just go with a foreign horror film? But then I decided to try to find something that was Americans as the foreigners going into another outside land. And the movie that just kept being at the top of my brain is Ari Aster's Midsommar, and from 2019. And so I think it's a very interesting horror movie, and I can't wait to jump right into it.
Dan putting a twist on a prompt that never happens.
Never.
What? I never do that.
Overthinking a prompt. Foreign, and we go straight for Midsommar. Yes, this was definitely an interesting pick, Dan, and one that, we all kind of had a little talk off the air about this show, and I gave kind of an early description of my opinion of the film, and we thought that it would be best if us three guys, being, the kind of masculine men that we are, it would be wise if we did not talk about this movie just amongst ourselves, but we brought in a feminine perspective. So thank you, Dictator Tot, for lending us your specific vision and perspective on this particular movie.
Yes, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm excited.
We're excited. You're our
For
first.
anyone who doesn't know, I listen to every episode with Ryan. We have a tradition. I keep crashing his tradition now, and I'm obsessed. So I feel like I'm like with celebrities right now.
No, come on.
That's
Come on.
too much.
Thank you. Oh, stop. Oh, stop. Oh, no, please continue. Oh.
It started literally. I have a tradition that after the episodes come out, for those who are familiar with the chain, the LA based chain, The Habit. I go and I get on Mondays. I go and I get a chicken sandwich at The Habit for lunch, and I listen to the pod and just like review the episodes once they come out. And Sasha and I have started making it a tradition of now we go and do that together, because she already watches like at least 2/3 of the movies with me. So then it just kind of, she was like, "Oh, I want to hear what you guys thought and stuff," and here we are.
That's fantastic. Wait. So, of the movies that we reviewed so far, and granted, we are still fairly early into this show. This is only our 19th episode. Sasha, of the movies we've covered so far, which is your favorite or favorite episode? Either way.
Oh crap.
Ooh,
Okay.
That's a big question. I'm curious.
Dropping
That
it.
is okay. That's a really tough question. I don't think I could do this on the spot. I don't have a favorite one of the earlier episodes, I was like, this is a great episode. I don't remember what it was now, though.
Oh.
I loved The Empty Man, actually.
Ooh, good call.
I actually really liked Fall. But then when I listened to you guys talking about it, I was like, damn, I don't like it as much.
Oh, no.
That was, no. Now I can critically think and analyze. Damn.
We ruined Fall.
That's part of being with Ryan, though, because every time I see a movie with him, he's ruining every movie because he's like analyzing it in like the more like background context. But I love it, so it's fun.
That's fantastic. Ryan, you movie ruiner, you.
What can I say?
No, but I mean, Sasha, I know what you're talking about because like I'll come into an episode at the beginning, like having this one thought about a movie, and then after chatting about it with these guys, you know, my perspective changes, you know, and I take that into account. And by the end of like an hour talk, I may have a different rating, a different thought about the whole film altogether just after having this discussion. So I get it. I know where you're coming from.
And I'm actually really grateful.
But I love that.
And I'm grateful that you're on the show today, Sasha, because that I love that about the show as well. I love that we're here trying to convince each other of our perspectives on these movies. And our movie today, I would I'd need someone to talk me off the ledge on Midsommar.
It might not be me.
I'm hoping that it will either be you or that you will reinforce my perspective and I won't feel so bad about what it is. And that's a little hint as to what is coming.
No pressure.
Ian, is there a blessed rock at the bottom of your ledge though that you might fall onto? I don't know.
Oh God.
There's no blessed rock at the bottom of this ledge. However, there is a small rock in my pocket that if you sniff it, it might help you make you feel better. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time when we start talking about Midsommar. So, bam, bam, bam. Spoiler alerts going forward for Ari Aster's 2019 Midsommar, which, if you haven't seen it, it is a... Simply put, it's a movie. It's a breakup film. It's a movie about a woman played amazingly by Florence Pugh, who is, I guess she goes willingly, but it's kind of awkwardly done. She goes to Sweden with her boyfriend and a group of her other friends. They're brought to a village, a commune, by a guy that they all met in college, and things go significantly south. Now, it should be noted that Florence Pugh's character did just recently lose her parents very tragically, and her sister, who committed suicide and took her parents with her, and also that she and her boyfriend were going to break up, but then he didn't break up with her because she was traumatized by her parents' death. And the whole movie is just them being really awkward and wanting to break up while this whole commune is kind of luring them into this spider web of deceit in their midsummer festival. So it is a very disturbing, slow burn movie. Previous to this, I'm pretty sure, Ryan, you'd never seen it. Dan, I know you'd seen it. I'd seen it. Sasha, any experience with Midsommar prior to watching it this time?
No, I was so excited to watch it too.
Really? Why is that?
I don't know. It was one of those movies that everyone was like, yeah, you gotta watch it. It's like so cool and different and it stands out. And then it just never had time to watch it. And so when I heard you guys were doing it, I was like, yes!
That's fantastic. Great.
See, that's why.
Yeah.
All right. So two people with no idea going in. And then Dan, what was your previous experience with Midsommar? When had you seen it before?
So I didn't get a chance to see his follow-up in theaters. I saw Hereditary and loved that in theaters. And so when this one came out, I didn't get a chance to see it in theaters. So I saw it, I bought it because I knew I just wanted it because I'm a big Ari Aster fan. So I bought it and watched the original. And then I took some time with that, and then I watched the director's cut later. And then now on this third viewing, I went back and rewatched just the theatrical cut, not the director's cut, for this third viewing. So this is my third time watching it.
Holy, okay. Well, then you are going to have to be our official director's cut expert because I've only seen the theatrical myself. And this is my second time watching.
It's been a while since I've seen the director's cut, but I do have to say that having just remember now the feeling after watching this one, the theatrical cut, and then the feeling after watching the director's cut does give you a lot more character development. Things make sense more. Things just feel more fully developed. It's definitely worth the extra 30 minutes, I think, that he tacks onto it. It's worth the time to watch the director's cut. in my opinion. So
Are they drastically different? I mean, obviously 30 minutes difference is
That's a
already
lot.
pretty massive, but
it's just more scenes of like Danny dealing with other characters. You see more of their side. You see more of the reasons that they make decisions. I think also there's some definitely like really creepy elements where Danny is seeing her former family members throughout the time too that I think they cut back on in the theatrical cut.
Okay.
You're seeing a lot more of them again throughout it as she's dealing with her grief, and each step you see a lot of more flashes of like her sister, her dad, and her mom in there too than I think is in the director's cut, not in the theatrical cut. And I think that helps develop her character a bit more as she's going through not only realizing she needs to get through this breakup, but dealing with the, extreme grief that she's going through too after experience that tragedy that you see in the beginning.
in the theatrical cut, she only sees them twice, right? Because I think there's the one time where she sees her. There's the like one kind of jump scary moment in the mirror.
Yes,
and then there's the parallel once they actually like do the jump, which I'm sure we'll dive more into that specific scene later, I'm sure. But like I know they do a little bit of like a transposition thing where they flash her parents to make that parallel really clear. I think those are the only two times in the theatrical cut they actually do it. Is it?
I'm going to try off the top of my head to remember every time that I remember seeing them. One, you had, as you said, in the outhouse or whatever the little shack was when she's tripping and she sees her sister in the mirror behind her for a brief second. There's the dream where she takes the first sleeping pill and everyone's like left her and they're like driving away.
I didn't think about that one.
And then she like is like breathing the exhaust fumes or whatever from the car. There's her mom close to the very end when she's walking through the crowd of people, like her mom walks up and walks by her.
To her, tried to talk to her.
Yeah, like it's just like she's like there.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
And she goes, "Mom?"
Yeah.
There's when she's being carried on the platform after they've made her May Queen and they're kind of like carrying her over to the dinner table or whatever. In the trees behind her in that scene, the trees make the shape of her sister's face.
Oh,
with her.
Oh yes, I read
I
this.
didn't see that. I didn't notice
Which
that
is
at all.
wild.
That's crazy.
And with her sister's face, with the exhaust pipe from the cars, like she's suffocated the parents and herself with the car exhaust, and she's got the
Which
pipe
is so dark
hooked up to her face. Well, yeah, and that shot like of the sister sitting there is so iconic, and it also, I mean, they do a lot of symbolism and a lot of callbacks and whatnot in this movie. It's a very well thought out movie from a design standpoint, from a cinematography standpoint. I'm trying to think if I can think of any other times when they pop up. So
yeah, I keep, and to be honest, like I probably should have like tried to revisit the director's cut, but I will say that one key moment that I did remember that they cut was in that outhouse scene, when she sees the sister in the background and then it just jumps to her running out.
Yeah.
In the director's cut, there's more to that scene, and her face actually morphs and becomes, I think, some of her family members. And that's why it's kind of like she starts to rub at her face and then she's just running outside.
Yeah.
There's more to that scene where she's looking at herself and she becomes like, I think, her sister, or she morphs, her face morphs, and she starts to try to touch her face, and that's when she runs out of the outhouse. So there's more to that scene. So I think that there's probably just more of stuff like that, like just more kind of exploring scenes.
Yeah, it starts to morph in the theatrical version, but then they cut and she's running afterwards.
Yeah, it's longer. I just remember being like, oh, why'd they cut that? And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of the director's cut. It goes a bit longer.
Well, suffice it to say that we will, I think today, just stick to the theatrical then. That's interesting that all the things that they cut out. And I'm actually now curious to see what exactly he cut out. But I guess we'll stick to the theatrical version and what we all watched recently for this. And I guess that means we need to discuss Midsommar and what we thought about it this time watching through it. Dan, your third time, my second time, and the first time for Ryan and Sasha over there. So, Dan, this was your pick. I'm going to throw it to you first. Did you find anything new this viewing? What did you think about Midsommar on your third viewing?
This definitely feels like a multiple viewing sort of movie. When I first saw it, I was confused, a bit disappointed, and wasn't quite sure what I watched, because having seen Hereditary, which kind of, I feel like, kind of set another standard or was like a nice shift in the horror genre where people saw what he did in Hereditary and started to mimic it. I think I was just expecting another like dark, really scary movie like that. And so when you get this, you get this really dark opening, I was like, oh, okay, this is okay. He's back in it. Ari Aster's back to it. Then the rest of this movie is so bright and colorful and vibrant, and I think it just really threw me back. Where at the end I was like, I think I like that movie, but I'm not sure. And so then that's why I was like, okay, I gotta rewatch it because there's so many people that are loving this movie. I was like, I gotta give it another chance. And that's when I watched the director's cut and I appreciated it more. And now, having watched it, given it a lot of time, I haven't seen it in a while, and then watching it this third time, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really take something from it. I just see how powerful Florence Pugh's performance is, and the cinematography is just next level. It's such an interesting horror movie because of how it kind of flips things around, and everything's so bright and colorful and beautiful, and there's all these horrendous things happening behind the scenes, and there's just things being said about relationships and grief and Americans that I got more out of it this time, I think, and it's something that I definitely enjoyed it the most on this third viewing.
So it's getting better for you as you go.
Getting better as I watch it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to throw it over
like
to
an
the people.
everlasting gobstopper.
the everlasting gobstopper of Midsommar. Well, that means I'm going to throw it over to the two of us who have seen it for the very first time. Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Your first experience with Midsommar. What did you think?
Honestly, I think Dan kind of nailed it. I have conflicting views on it because there were elements of the movie that I really liked, and there were elements of the movie that felt like they didn't hit as hard as I felt like I expected them to, and that left me kind of on my back foot once I ended the movie. Because I think you put it really succinctly, where it's like, I think I liked it, but like I'm not 100% sure. Like the cinematography is brilliant. I love the cool effects that they did in terms of like the flowers breathing and kind of like making it feel like the audience is also in that kind of drug-induced kind of haze that a lot of the movie is in, and kind of adding that surreal aspect makes it feel disorienting in a way that really adds. I love the foreshadowing and like a lot of the art in the film and the way that they like use these like really morbid but very like unique artistic imagery to not only foreshadow but then straight up like hint at different parts of the plot and just set the mood and the setting too. And it's just kind of like sprinkled in throughout. Like there was a lot of really cool stuff there. And Florence Pugh kills it in this movie. And I'll also say, prior to this movie, prior to this month, I had never really seen Florence Pugh in any sort of major role.
What?
I actually checked. It was just completely by like coincidence. The only movie that I'd really seen her play any major role in was in Dune, and she's not even really like a major role in Dune.
Yeah.
And I knew her name. I knew she's a very like famous and skilled actress and like had a bunch of momentum behind her, but I just never actually seen any of her films. And a couple weeks ago, we saw Thunderbolts. And we were like, wow, like, and we see like why people love Florence Pugh. Like, she's really good. And then we watched this and I was like, oh God, like, no wonder she broke out with this film. This film's a tour de force for her. And so that, like, she knocks it out of the park. And frankly, I think is probably the best actor in the movie by a landslide. Like, I think everyone else does a good job. I'll also throw out, I was really impressed with how authentic all of the Swedish citizens and cult members feel, like the mannerisms, the way that they interact and stuff. Like really, I visited Sweden for half a year when I was in college, and like it was kind of strange how authentic that was. It really threw me back, and so that was a very pleasant surprise of like how well they nailed the little details of that stuff. But in general, like there was some weird stuff of just like kind of the way the plot moves, and like all of a sudden you're just like at the end and all of the cast is gone. And it's like it leaves some things unexplained for suspense purposes, of course. But I don't know. You kind of feel like you're just kind of whisked along with this momentum, and you don't really have a firm grasp of where you're going or what's happening for a lot of it in terms of, well, I should say what's happening. You don't really have a firm grasp of it's meant to make you feel unsettled, right? It's meant to make you feel like not everything's in control. And it's hard to come out of that experience feeling like, I have a really strong opinion about this whole thing. Like, you kind of feel like there's almost no way I could have grasped everything in one go. Like, I didn't notice the face in the woods.
And Dan's watched it 3 times and he didn't see the face in the woods. And that really speaks to what he said about it might be a multiple time watch movie. I'm also now having a vision of you being in Sweden in like a little commune camp while you were there and being like, oh, this looks exactly like Sweden when I was there.
I was in a very small town, but not a commune level thing. But it was just like just the way they interacted with each other felt very authentic. And I thought that was very cool. I don't know if they filmed on location or if they actually got Swedish like actors for those roles, but it felt like they did.
Actually a little bit of trivia about this. They actually filmed in Hungary and quite a bit of the cast was Hungarian, and they used a lot of production design from all over Europe, not just the Scandinavian countries. I believe the actual costumes were like based on Bulgarian traditional folk costumes, something along those lines.
Interesting.
But yeah, and also a bit of trivia, if you guys have never seen the looked closely at the tapestry they show at the very beginning of the movie, it pretty much shows the entire first 2/3 of the movie. It shows the whole thing.
That was one of my notes, actually. I went and specifically looked up the mural and studied it afterwards because I wanted to just like check out all the art. The art's so good.
Yeah, it is. And it does lend so much to it where you have this subconscious feeling of inevitability going on because you've subconsciously seen it. Like I know I've seen this going on before and it's not good, but you don't know what you're looking at when you see that mural at the first part of the movie. You don't realize there's a panel where Pelle, their Swedish friend, is like up on a tree manipulating them in the second panel like a puppet master, or leading them through the woods in the second panel like a Pied Piper. He's literally playing a pipe and leading them along. You know, a lot of these little things don't really register until you see it 2 or 3 times, and then it really hits you.
Well, and they show it so quick too, so you can't really let it all sink in.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background of this movie. Paintings on the wall of her apartment, like the little queen touching the nose of the bear in the painting.
So good.
There's even like little nods to other things that Ari Aster throws in there, like when she's sleeping in the big building with everybody, she's got a blanket on. The blanket is a white and blue pattern of the carpet from The Shining in the hotel.
What?
And I only
That's
realized that
cool.
watching it this time. There's also little details in the back, like if you look in the hut where at the one point the boyfriend goes to meet with the woman who's like, "Hey, you want to fuck one of our people?" In the background, there's a little nod. I think it's a nod to Wicker Man, which is a movie that's a massive influence on this movie. There's a tiny little hand of glory on the wall back there.
Wow.
Which is which I think is a reference to that movie.
Yeah, there must be a reference in it. Yeah.
It's gotta be. I mean, it is a, you know, a very like folklore magic symbol, the hand of glory, the pickled left hand of a hanged man that you can enter any room with.
What a description.
But that being said, I now want to find out what Sasha thinks. Sasha, this is your first time watching it. You were very excited to see Midsommar. What did you think on your first watch?
I definitely agree with Dan, and I'm 100% like, I want to watch it like 5 more times because I feel like even from what you guys are telling me, I'm like, wait, I missed that. I guess in a way though, it's good because like my first opinion was weird because there's so much I love about this movie. But then in the end, I just felt meh. I was like, I feel like something fell flat and I can't figure out what it was. But like Florence Pugh is a queen. I would marry her in an instant. I love her. Her acting is amazing. I love the way that her like trauma and her anxiety is depicted. And even just as simple as like the micro expressions, the slight like breathing heaviness is just like, that's just like, oh, it's so good. Everything you guys have said, I'm like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. I think the themes just fell flat to me. And I think that that's what I'm like most disappointed with because it's like, I'm mad. I spent this whole movie rooting for her and rooting for like certain characters and feeling so complex because I was like, what's the line between culture and cult and insensitivity, and who am I to be like, oh, intentional suicide of the elderly when like we nowadays have assisted suicides, right? But who am I to be like, that's wrong, and then to feel like so negative about it? Like I loved the complex questions I was asking myself throughout the whole movie, and then I still just was disappointed. And I think that I hyped it up too much in my brain. I think maybe I missed too much because all the little details and the symbolism I missed. Yeah, and I also think I want to do more research aside and figure out anthropologically. Is that how you say that?
Sure.
I think that's the word.
How do other people of other cultures react when they watch this movie? And how do like more subconsciously ignorant people intake what they learn from this movie? Versus like we can look at it and be like, okay, this is a cult versus like culture, like where that line is drawn. And like this is not all culturally accurate. But there's a lot of ignorant people in the world. And I think that media can be so dangerous sometimes. And there's a lot of stupid people. And I like love anthropology, but us as also stupid Americans being like, we're going to go into someone else's culture and be like, put our right and say like, our right is like the right. And whatever they're doing is wrong because we're right. And so I love the complexity of this movie and I like that it makes everyone question it, but
you were left frustrated.
I just feel like it could have done
At the
better.
end,
Yeah. And I can't pinpoint exactly why.
It's interesting because you say, I wonder how other people reacted to this movie. And a lot of people, when it first came out, it was very divisive. It got a C+ on Metascore, for example. Like some people hated it, some people loved it. In Sweden, it was a lot of people reacted and said it was like a dark comedy. They said it was funny.
Yeah.
And there's certainly humor in the movie. Mark, for example, is a character that is, I think, written to be a bit of a comic relief and kind of the obvious douchebag American toxic male. Like he's got all the bad traits summed up into one person, you know, and he's skinned alive. And they even say, you know, the game in the village is called Skin the Fool. And it comes back around. They skin the fool and they put him into the building at the end with all the other sacrifices with a little fool's hat on, or what's left of him they put into that building. But I think that you've hit on something there where this movie doesn't always connect the dots for you, and it doesn't.
Well,
But I don't think it has to. But I think that it definitely leaves some things hanging. Like you hit on the point where who are we to say if their culture is valid or not? You know, well, they're taking their old people out to pasture at age 72 and brutally murdering them by throwing or having them jump off cliffs and then beating them in the face with a mallet if they survive. You know, and you see that disparity in the people who are there. You've got some of them who go, the one guy, Josh, who's the academic guy, and he's like, this is very interesting. I'm going to go write about this. You have Christian, the boyfriend, who's like,
Christian, man.
Okay, I should feel bad about this, but I don't really, and I want to take advantage of this somehow, and he wants to exploit it and exploit his friends. You have Danny, who isn't really so much offended by the custom as she is by the fact that this is a violent death of the elderly after she's just experienced her own parents being violently murdered by her sister. And then you have the other couple, the British couple, who are just like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck are you freaks doing?
The reasonable ones.
So they do give us like all potential perspectives there. Ari does give us all the potential perspectives. And I think that the fact he doesn't come down on any one side in that could be seen as unsatisfying. Do you think there's anything else? Maybe. Was there anything else in this movie that was unsatisfying to you, or is it just those kinds of things?
I have notes. I definitely was like taking notes.
Yeah, bring the notes. Bring them up.
Yes.
Share the screen.
Well, I guess I love when movies let me make my own opinions, and I'm so contradictory in like what I'm saying because at the same time I'm like I worry about like how media is dangerous. At the same time, I'm like, I don't want to be told how to feel at the end of a movie, but I want, as an artist and an art teacher, I'm like, okay, art is manipulation, right? I am figuring out my goal is how do I want people to feel? How do I want them to think when they look at this thing or watch this thing? And then I have to figure out the clues how can I guide them to that, right? Everything has like this intention. And so I'm like, okay, I love that the movie didn't tell me how I should feel, but I hated that it also didn't tell enough people how they should make sure they don't make bad cultural assumptions. I just don't want it to pass on like insensitivity. Because the thing that's tough is even Ryan was like, yeah, the only reasonable people with Connie and
Simon.
Simon.
And I was like, well, that's like how, it is reasonable to react that aggressively. But being like, you're idiots, you're crazy, and like calling them out is like, well, there are other cultures that exist to this day that will like carve scars into even like youth because it's a religious thing or just a traditional thing. And why are we right? And I'm like, I would react the same way as like Connie and Simon for sure. But
that doesn't make it right.
It doesn't make it right. Yeah. But and that's one of those things I just worry about. I teach high school, and current generation that's like 9th grade to 10th grade, they're very apathetic, they're very ignorant, and it's very hard to combat that. And I don't know why this group is really hard to like try and teach empathy and just in analysis and like cultural questions. And so that's why I'm like, if they see this movie, they're going to believe wholeheartedly like this is how people in Sweden are.
Right. That leads to a really interesting point, because this movie has been so there's two major criticisms that I've come across for this movie, aside from my own critiques, which we'll get into. But one of the one of the things is that, I mean, one of the critiques is that it's Swede-sploitation. That at no point do we point out that not all Swedes live in a commune, throw their elderly off of a cliff, and are going to like steal, like they're going to bring you into their village and kill most of you, and then take one of you as their new like breeding sow or whatever she becomes at the end, right? But that's the thing. At any point, does he have a responsibility to say that? Does he need to? Like we talked about this with Cannibal Ferox. Do they at any point do they have a responsibility to the audience, as shitty as that movie was? And it was a shitty movie. But they also like, they say, yeah, even in the movie, the only tribe that might be cannibals are ones they're deep in the jungle. They're not naturally cannibals. Like these people are driving them to this. But at no point do they say, this isn't a thing. Don't think that all people down in South America are like this. They don't have that responsibility. They shouldn't have to have that responsibility as filmmakers. Should they?
I think the tough part is it's kind of a little bit of both, right? Like the problem is that they walk this line and this has become a recurring issue for me, I think, on the show, of like, they don't commit one way or the other, right? Of in general, we've got these kind of, they take opportunities where they don't clarify and they leave things unexplained or kind of off screen for suspense. And they have the audience make these assumptions for impact, right? But on the flip side, to your point, like, we know this is a cult, we know this is a horror movie, we know that this is not this isn't necessarily meant to be viewed as fact in the first place. But on the other hand, they based it off of a real life festival that actually exists with real life traditions. Like the Midsommar festival is a real thing in Scandinavia.
And you also said it felt like you were in Sweden, even though you didn't live in like, or when you
very
were
authentic
live in this like cult. But you even were like, it brought me back to that point. And so
correct.
It's like immersive. But
it walks that line of like, okay, we're going to make it feel grounded. We're going to make it feel real, but we're going to add the surrealism and we're going to add these otherworldly elements to like lean into the fictitious aspect of it. But to your point, Ian, that's assuming that the viewer has the wherewithal and the like self-awareness to separate that from fact, which at that point, where does that responsibility lie? Is that on the audience to be educated, or is that on the filmmakers to make sure that that bridge is crossed appropriately? And I don't know that we really have a clean answer to that question.
I don't know if you can have a clean answer to that question. I mean, that's definitely going to be society versus the artist. Yeah. That old argument that goes back centuries and centuries, like whose responsibility is it to have the high moral ground, if you will? And especially when you're faced with an audience that could have an issue with empathy or with recognizing whether or not things are real, whether or not things are valid, whether or not this is like a depiction of how things actually are. But that being said, it's interesting that we've gone down the path of whether this movie is accurate and whether it's portraying these cultures sensitively enough. My big takeaway from this movie, the first time that I watched it, was this is a movie by a man who had a bad breakup and wanted to make an apology letter to his ex.
Oh,
because this is a movie about breakups, first and foremost.
Yeah.
This is a breakup movie.
Yeah.
This is a Ari Aster straight up said, first and foremost, this is a breakup film. More than anything else, it's a folk horror film. It's one of the biggest folk horror movies of the modern era. I would say this and The Witch. But, you know, you looking back over the all of the folk horror movies in history, this is the only one, I think, where the folk horror, the actual, in this case, commune or cult, is not really as important as a lot of the other things that he's saying about interpersonal relationships. And it's specifically about Danny and Christian, right? That's what he's really going for here, is their incredibly, uncomfortably toxic relationship that they're both trapped in because of their both inability to have fucking any kind of agency with each other. neither of them can just make a goddamn decision.
Well, honestly, I would even say it goes one step further of, in a weird way, it becomes a thing. I don't remember if it was The Invitation or what episode we talked about it, but it becomes a commentary on the modern kind of trend of trying to be so considerate and polite that ultimately you sacrifice your ability to either like make proper progress in ways that are good for everyone, right? Of Christian is a manipulative, toxic asshole. He is a absolute piece of shit, but he does, at least to the small little bit of credit I can give him, which I'm hesitant to give it all because he's a piece of shit. He realizes early on that this is not a relationship that he wants to continue. And despite that, he tries to be considerate of the fact that she is in a rough place and doesn't want to worsen her position, and essentially lies to her, which is at this point is where he steers wrong. Of that little nugget I can give him of he had a grounded thing that might actually have been good for both of them, but then he handles it entirely poorly. He lies to her and continues the relationship on, and then also has his friends lie to her and does a bunch of other stacked bad shit on top of it. But the intention of what he's trying to do is he's trying to be considerate of her circumstance and make sure, like, hey, she's going through a rough time. I don't want to pile on, so I'm going to suck it up and last it out, even if it's bad for me. But ultimately, all it does is make the whole situation worse and delay the inevitable. And then ultimately, just because of the fact that it's this horror film, kills him in the end. Yep. But
the worst breakup ever.
Ultimately, he dies for it. After doing a drug-induced sex ceremony with an 18-year-old. But all that aside, it's this weird comment. They're both trying to. Even Danny is constantly trying to accommodate everyone else. She is struggling. She's having anxiety attacks. She is having this like complete meltdown, and she's constantly shutting herself down to try and make other people feel better, Christian or otherwise. Of like, I'm sorry, it's me. Let me adjust. Like, it's not on you to be responsible for me. And nobody takes, to your point, that self-agency. Nobody like asserts themselves at fear of being impolite or inconsiderate of everyone around them. And then because of that, it allows everyone else to manipulate them and just shepherd them along, because no one will step out of line except the British couple, Simon and Connie, are the only ones that are willing to stand up for themselves and be like, this isn't okay. And they immediately get murdered.
Yeah, but I'll say that's why they die first. This is why you died.
Yeah.
You stood up for yourself. This is a horror of manners. This is a horror movie where by giving too much agency to other people, by being too polite, by not being confrontational, you are putting yourself in a situation where worse things will happen to you and worse conflicts will come your way. And like you said, it is something that's become somewhat common. The original Speak No Evil, Eden Lake, like this is something that's common in horror, where people are too nice and it gets them killed.
Mm-hmm. And it's very modern.
Dan, I have a quick question for you. Was there anyone in this movie that you connected with? Did you have anyone in this movie that you felt was someone you wanted to follow?
I mean, she has part of my name, Danny. She like Florence Pugh's character from the get-go. You know, I think I identified with her too, because I've been in those situations. Like I've been in previous past relationships being young, where you're in the wrong, like you're in, like in your gut, it's like
time out. I'm interrupting right. Real quick. Who among us has not had a relationship that went somewhere like this on either side of it? Who among us has not?
Where it just turned super toxic.
Where like you stay in the relationship because you can't get out. The person's not giving you enough, but you want more, or because the other person's just become too needy, too much. You just want to move on and you can't because of their feelings. Has any of us not had some aspect of that?
I haven't had that exactly. The closest I've gotten is the trying to fight back to what something was before, in the sense of like it went south and then like it descends into toxicity because you're so trying so hard to turn it back to what it was, and what was is gone, and now it's spiraled. But I don't think that that's all that different.
Yeah, I've been in her shoes. I've been in that type of relationship where I know it's not good to carry it on unless you still stay like 3 months, 6 months. You think it's going to get better and it doesn't. So not only that, but then also like I really, kind of was rooting for her and identifying with her, especially this time around where you can see her shifts of standing up for herself, especially against Christian. There's little moments that she takes where it just feels like, oh, she's shifting subtly. She's shifting like things as she starts to be accepted into the community that's around her. I feel like then she starts to feel a bit stronger as a person because she feels so lost in this opening, and she's just kind of brought along this way, and she's so against everything. Like she wants to leave. She's always wants to run away. And when she finally like accepts and, is taken into this family, like that whole baking scene and everything where they bring her in and allow her to bake. And that's like the beginning of, her bringing her in as the May Queen. Like it just shows that like she's finding her place. I think she's finding her place in the world, and so finding acceptance. Yeah. And so all those elements to say as that character, that's why I was like always rooting for Danny, and I like could not stand Christian even more, and like all the friends. I just was like, I realized this like as you witness it again, and like as you get through and you understand what's coming up, and so you can really kind of look at each character, like they're just terrible people. His friends suck. He's the worst. Like it's just they're just bad people, and you're like, and that's why I was just like, Danny, why are you around these people? Why are you with them? Like this is horrible. Like this is a horrible situation for you. Yet it brings you to where you're supposed to be. I feel like that's what it meant. That's where she was at. That's where she was supposed to be at the end. I feel like
you feel like she was supposed to be in that position. She had found her family.
I think so. She had found her family, and I feel like that's what that smile is at the end. Like that's the first time you really see her have like this genuine, like this is that I've now kind of gone through the worst, and that everything that can happen, and like now I don't know if it's necessarily peace, but she has more of a vision for what's next. Like she knows what's coming next now, and so she's happy with that.
Does she? Sasha, I'm really curious to know if you had the same experience. Did you identify with Danny? Was this a movie where you came away going, I understand her, and I understand why she did the things that she did, and why she ended up in the place that she was at the end of this movie?
This is so funny. I was kind of hoping you would ask me about Danny, and I like that Dan was like, I identify with Danny, or I followed her, I went rooting for her. And I was definitely rooting for her like the entire time. I still would be rooting for her, right? But, and I think, okay, I literally just wrote down, I was rooting for her, but pitying her and seeing myself in her. And I wanted to point out that I had questions at the end about the smile, because I was like, is it, she's just cracked. This is it. She's just in this kind of still like not having to take the drugs anymore, but actually like being kind of just drugged out in her brain of being like, this is right. Or is it, she can breathe and it's rebirth. The whole movie, there's rebirth. It's like ending the past relationship, ending the trauma, moving on, finding a new family, right? There's this relief. I don't know. And I like that I don't know about that, but I want to know more about, like, this is silly. I want like a prequel of her childhood life with her trauma of her parents and her sister. And I want to know more about her mental health.
Wow.
Because watching this, and this is the darkness of like where I identify with her is the over apologizing and the easily, like, she's manipulated this entire movie. And I'm rooting for her, even though she's also doing some toxic things in a way. And I pity her, and I'm like, right? Yeah. See, the thing is, it's like, sometimes I wonder, is my over apologizing because I want to manipulate the situation? Or is it because like I genuinely am feeling like my space in this world is a burden? And I wonder how much her parents or her family dynamic influenced how she has relationships, and how her relationship with Christian is, and how he can manipulate her, and how the cult manipulates her. And then I love when Dan said something about how it's this initiation into the family and the cooking scene and all that. And I was like, but is that like more familyness, or is that manipulation? Because that's what she needed. Pele saw that she had this trauma and was like, she's perfect. Like, and so then I'm like, oh, I love Danny. I rooted for her the whole time. I still am rooting for her, but I can see the problematic like behaviors in her as well. And so
I want to jump in too and say, like, at the end here, right? In terms of, I don't agree that she's where she needs to be. I almost wonder if she's just swapped one jailer for another, right? In terms of like, Christian was manipulating the shit out of her in the relationship because he's a toxic asshole, and was like justifying it in his head as like, oh, well, I'm trying to like not pile on, but then ultimately like extends the relationship so far and is like doing whatever he wants and just like explaining it away with lies to her. But then ultimately the cult does the same thing. They give her this whole pretext of like, here, come into the family, you're one of us. And then they set up her so-called boyfriend to cheat on her and frame him for it in her eyes. They don't explain that they drugged him. They don't explain that they set it up. She witnesses it and they comfort her like it's her fault. Well, not like it's her fault. They comfort her as if it's like, not as if like she had no way of knowing, like, how could this happen? Even to the point of like having this really weird, like they're all mourning with her scene of like echoing her feelings and making her feel like she can let it all out. And in a weird way, the smile at the end almost makes me feel like the cult won in the end. At the very end, they claim her. She is still a victim. She is still somebody who like was taken in by a force that's taking advantage of the fact that she doesn't have agency, is manipulating her into another situation that she may not be comfortable with. Like, this is, they win, and she buys into a whole new system that she ultimately has almost no say in. She doesn't even know the traditions.
I am so happy that you just brought all that up, Ryan, because you have hit on fundamentally why I think this movie can kiss my ass.
Wow.
And this is the point on the show where I go mask off and I reveal what I think about Midsommar.
Mm-hmm,
Let's do it.
We've been waiting.
It's a technically brilliant film. It is a movie that I cannot in any way impugn in terms of its writing, its acting, its cinematography, any of its creative process. It's a fantastically made movie. It is horror art house at its highest level. It's an incredible movie that can kiss my ass, because what this movie is fundamentally is such a backhanded, bitchy, passive-aggressive way of apologizing for how you acted in a fucking relationship. And it makes me squirm and cringe for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I can't stand watching this movie. It makes me just pissed off the entire time. It makes my misanthropy go through the fucking roof because I hate every single person in it to the nth degree. And even the people that I want to like, by the end, I'm left frustrated by, especially Danny, who, as you said, Ryan, in this entire movie has no agency and either is so emotionally broken that she can't make decisions for herself, or she's trying to weakly manipulate her way out of situations, but doesn't have the power or the fortitude to do it, either because of her trauma or because of her character. So either way, she's a pitiful character, and she's supposed to be our heroine. Meanwhile, everybody else is a piece of shit to varying degrees. You have Christian, who, by the way, what a cute name. The pagans kill the Christian. Ooh, how clever.
Oh, wow.
He's
Fair.
a spineless fucking Muppet. He's underhanded. He's simpering. He can only take action by being passive aggressive, like the writer of this movie. No offense to Ari Aster. I feel like this is a projection of his. He's self-flagellating with this character. I don't believe that this is actually how he is. I think he's a genius in real life. But this is me being pissed off. Josh is a classic soulless academic. He only cares about exploiting the resources of these the supposedly inferior cultures that he barely understands. He what's this rune? He doesn't really know. He has no empathy for these people as humans, so he's a piece of shit. Mark is just a classic douche, as we discussed. But Pelly is the fucking worst character. He's the Mike Logan Award for me. He's sociopathic. He's manipulative. He's that smarmy, sleazy, seemingly sensitive artist type dude who preys on vulnerable women by pretending to connect with them, but it's only for his own ends, and he will gaslight and destroy them in the end. And just like the Village, he plays at feeling and sharing Danny's emotions, but it's not real. It's all for his own selfish ends. Just like the Village. They want another fucking womb. They don't give a shit about her. And so at the end, when she trades one toxic relationship for another, and she has this big cathartic smile at the end, it's not a happy ending. It's not catharsis. It's bullshit. And it's Ari Aster trying to have this big, nice breakup moment at the end, be like, oh, aren't you happy you broke up with your shitty, toxic boyfriend, who I represent? And now instead, Instead, you found this fucking cult fake ass family that also treats you like shit and manipulates you as well. Congratulations. It's sarcastic, it's passive aggressive, it's petty, it's backhanded, and it's bullshit.
Tell me how you really feel.
I'm just getting warmed up.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, give me a second to breathe.
In your rant there, though.
Give me a second to breathe here.
Yeah, exactly. You breathe. I have a question about, you said specifically Pele's your Mike Logan Award. Oh, I'm sorry, Sasha.
No,
do you want to say?
the one thing I wanted to say, and I want you to ask your question. I just wanted to respond is that I was falling for Pele's sweetness, his empathy, his kindness. And that's a thing. And I would like to say underappreciated actor award though for him for that, because the whole movie I was like, Danny's the best, and Florence Pugh. But then I was like, no, he made me feel like I would want to stay.
He got you.
And be held by this cult forever. Yeah.
Well, actually, ironically, my question is about Pele as well, because to your point.
And by the way, Sasha.
I know. Well, I like that the movie made me feel like that.
Yeah,
though.
that's the power of it.
Complexity. But yeah.
But to your point, in terms of like the Mike Logan Award, right? Of like, yes, Pele's doing all this manipulation and shit, but can we assign fault to him for that when that's the whole, he literally is a product of the cult? Is that his fault individually, or is that the cult's fault? For he is a product of this, right? All he knows is suck people in, like be the Pied Piper, like
that doesn't
for lack of a better term.
I'm sorry, you're a product of your culture. Fuck you, dude. But
that's my point. Is like he doesn't know any better.
I don't care.
It's not even malicious for him.
Fuck him. Mike Logan Award. Oh, he doesn't know any better. You know what you call someone who was born in Germany and was raised a Nazi? You call him a Nazi. I don't give a fuck. That's what the culture
fair.
you were born in. Fuck you, dude. He's still going into this joyously being like, I'm going to manipulate this sweet girl, and then one day maybe she'll have sex with me after we tie her boyfriend into this stupid little bear corpse, and then we burn him alive, and then she will have sex with me. Fuck you, dude.
Pele is now Swedish chef.
Simon and Connie,
goodness.
as you said, they're the only halfway decent people in this movie, and their only sin is potentially being culturally insensitive to a bunch of people who have no problem murdering people and taking women to be their sex slaves. So yeah, I'm kind of on Simon and Connie's side.
Interesting thing about that too is I did think it was super cool how they took they foreshadowed the whole Viking thing of like, oh, the Vikings took all of the women to sweet, like that's how they proliferated, right? And ultimately that's literally like the basis of the cult, is that all of these people are bringing in foreigners to sacrifice and to proliferate, and like that little subtle nod was very cool. And
to be clear, just so that we make sure that we show like, hey, this movie isn't just Swedesploitation and like making it look like these Swedes are horrible people. The Americans at the beginning, Mark says to Christian, you're going to go over there and impregnate some Swedish chicks.
Yeah.
Like
piece of shit.
Yeah. Everyone's a piece of shit.
But then Pele responds and goes, but don't forget all the ones that you can, because Mark says it to the waitress. Mark goes, oh, you're going to, like, you could be impregnating that waitress right now instead of your relationship. Pele is the one who goes, but don't forget, Sweden's coming. He's honeydicking, man. He's Pied Pipering. He's setting it up. And then also the Viking parallel of the way Simon dies, of the blood eagle being an actual thing that the Vikings used to do.
Well, actually, interestingly enough, it is something that they were supposed to have done, but consensus is that it might have been something that was mistranslated in the Nordic text by the Christians. And
that makes sense.
And they made it sound like some horrific thing that the Swedes did. So, they need Christian culture so they don't do these horrific barbaric things. Mm-hmm. So it could have been something that they did. It also could have been something that was Christian propaganda. Either way,
that's fair.
Blood eagle. We had a blood eagle in this movie.
Yeah, and they sit on it for a minute.
Yeah, they do. Although technically you wouldn't. I mean, technically you wouldn't be able to survive in a blood eagle because you need the muscles of your diaphragm to expand and contract your lungs. So you wouldn't survive very long. That's neither here nor there.
I asked Ryan this after we watched the movie, and he had not thought about it, which is weird to me because I go at this like perspective when I watch movies. Trigger warning, trauma about assault. I want to ask from your guys' perspective, how did you feel when you were watching the sex scene with Christian, from your perspective, what was your take on like the actual feelings when you were watching?
My reaction the first time I watched this movie was the exact same as the second time I watched it. Deep discomfort, feeling very, very vulnerable and exposed, like sympathetic to him. There was that obvious, like a little bit of arousal because it's just a room full of naked female bodies, not all of them necessarily attractive, but it's certainly like that initial like, ooh, and then, pretty much immediately afterwards. And then for the entire rest of the scene, especially when the old lady comes along and puts her hands on his butt and like helps him move, it's just, it was so deeply, deeply unsettling and uncomfortable.
I would have to say, first viewing, I remember it just being very like shocking and uncomfortable. By third viewing, it's funny. I think you get the dark comedy aspects of it.
No.
It's kind of just funny, like especially like the end part where the old lady's just like we got to get this done. We got to get this done. Like
Get in there, Jimmy.
This is part of the thing. I think it's like you're more
Put your seed in that virgin, Johnny. Come on, boy.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
there's a bit more
We
like
believe in you.
ridiculousness in it. So that's where like I think the third viewing. But yeah, definitely uncomfortable. But also I'm trying to understand what what Ari Aster is saying about those moments, because this builds off of like the shared as the cult, as the commune, or whatever, the shared experience of feeling the emotions all together as one. Connecting that to the rest of it was really interesting to kind of see what he's trying to say. But yeah, uncomfortable mixed with it's funny.
Once again, losing your individuality to the commune, to the group, even in the most intimate of moments, you're being part of a group. Ryan,
Yep.
What is your response? How did you feel?
It's an odd scene because, like, to your point, there's definitely like there's elements of it that like kind of lean fantasy-ish, of like there's definitely like the exotic nature of it. To your point, the initial reaction of like, oh, it's a bunch of naked women, it's on this grass, like there is some elements of that like at first, before it actually gets into it, you're like, this is an you have that brief hit of arousal, and then you're like, it's very alienating. But the other part too is like, I like it's tough because he's so drugged, and he's like basically at like through this whole thing, he's entirely barely aware of what it seems like he's barely aware of what he's doing.
Oh, they're raping him. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a form of rape.
For 1,000%. And like that element of just being like, he's basically being shepherded into this scenario adds that extra layer of discomfort to it, of like, not only is it like basically like a observed, like almost zoo-like experience of like all these people that not only are observing, but then like chiming in and like creating this really weird like ritual thing going on, in addition to then physically actually coming and like interacting with him. But the fact that he's like in like this weird haze and half aware, like there's so many layers of uncomfortable badness to it that like it's very it feels gross. And you're like, oh,
His face is classic in that scene. There's a trailer for Midsommar where they re-edited it to be a romantic comedy. And I always think of his face in the scene of,
oh God.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
He's got the funny expressions going on. So, Sasha, you said there was a second part to the question.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase the question, because like I just want to talk about it a little bit more. But this came up after the movie because I was like, man, like this was pretty traumatic, and you guys should maybe do like trigger warnings too. But I'm like, well, you do spoiler warnings. It's horror podcast. People know things are triggering. And I was like, yeah, because of suicide, of course. And then I was like, and rape. And he was like, wait, what? Horror movies that are scarier to me are usually not ghost movies, monster movies. It's people movies. So if there's a horrible, scary person, a murderer, a psycho, a man, I am terrified of being assaulted, right? And I think that a lot of media is focusing on the women's perspective of rape happens to women and women don't rape, and all this stuff is like, that's like this kind of misconstrued thing. And so I think it was funny and ironic that you asked or allowed me to come on to this podcast for this from a female perspective or a different person's perspective. And I watched a movie where I was like, a man is raped. Like and I was like, this is terrifying. And I wanted to ask you guys about like, did you, because Ian, yes, you brought it up, but Dan and Ryan, I guess, of like,
I mean, that's interesting. I didn't like that. I think you're really pointing out something. You're making a great point, because I didn't think of it like that. Like, I mean, I know it's happening, but it's not so blatant. And I think that comes from that we're focusing a lot more, like a lot of media pushes and a lot of storytelling pushes on the female perspective of something so horrible as rape. So that's what you're, looking at. So when you see Christian going through what he's going through, it's almost like it's more of just a ritual as opposed to like, no, this is really a rape occurring. So, but I more, I honestly was seeing it more as like he's being drawn into this ritual aspect as opposed to what it is. So that's really a very good point that you're bringing up, I think.
And conversely, flipping that on its head is, what do you think is going to happen to Dani next when this movie ends? She is now indoctrinated into this commune, into this cult. And if you think that she's not going to become impregnated by Pele at some point, then you're missing the entire trajectory of this movie. And imagine that the situation was reversed. Imagine if Christian was the guy who survived at the end and she was the one who burned in the house. It's something that I think is worth thinking about with this movie, what that says about our culture as well. But also that's one of the things that is somewhat frustrating to me about it, is that I don't think that Ari really, I don't think he dwells enough on it. I think that's one reason why I'm really glad you were on this show, Sasha. You're willing to come on this show, is because that exact perspective, I wanted to know from a female perspective, from a woman's perspective, from someone that has not had my particular, cisgendered white male perspective. What did you see in this that I might have missed? And you definitely saw things that I didn't see or that I didn't feel, that I didn't experience. And that is valid. It's completely valid. And that's something that makes me have a different perspective on this movie. Although it does, in a lot of ways, also kind of reinforce my previous ideas.
It should be spoken to.
I would like to say that even though I asked this question and that I am one of my biggest fears is being assaulted, and just like men in general are so scary to me, right? I have to admit my own hypocrisy when I watched this scene, because there was a part of me that was like, even before this happened, I was like, oh, does he want to have sex with her? He wants this. Like, oh my God, like I am part of the problem, because that's not okay. And so that's why I really wanted to also hear what you guys had thought about it, because as much as like men, in my opinion, men's voices are like way amplified usually, I feel like on this topic, they're not. And I'm like, that's causing a problem too for all of like gender equity. Is just, I really needed to make sure like I heard what you guys saw in that scene.
Well, also to your point, two things can be true, right? Of like, Christian's a piece of shit and he wants out of the relationship. And this is absolutely like an opportunity that you're right. I think he does want to sleep with her, and he like, they play into like his attention to her. And even the cult is like, hey, like but they are also, on the other hand, manipulating him into this position. And he is unaware of the way in which he's being manipulated. And then they go the further steps of drugging him and isolating him and basically forcing him. And all of that can still be wrong, even if he is in the wrong for the fact that he's still in this. Like, both of them can be, both can be bad. And it doesn't make it doesn't invalidate either side of like, he is still a pig, but the way that he is treated is still a problem and still very much rape.
Oh, I think that for any guy who's watching this movie who's confused about that scene, invert it. Make it a woman who's brought to this village who sees a handsome man but is having a bad relationship, and then at a certain point they drug her and bring her into a room with that guy and a bunch of other dudes and have her have sex with him in a similar situation. You would have no equivocation. You would know it was rape. So to have it be inverted like this, I think it's something that is worth talking about and is worth seeing and saying, hey, that's sexual assault. That's rape. That's wrong.
I was going to say, I think that speaks to a bigger societal problem of the fact that like it highlights the fact that it isn't viewed the same. To your point, the fact that we even have to reverse it at all to make it that clear is a problem, because it's not viewed equivalently. And it seems like it's a different context when reversed, and it's the exact same circumstance, but it impacts differently.
It does, and that's why it's worthwhile to talk about. So I'm very glad, Sasha, thank you very much for bringing up that question and bringing that topic to the fore. I'm glad we discussed it. I'm glad we got that on the show.
Thank you.
But it has come to that time on the show where we need to think back over the movie and figure out why someone died. And we do have quite a few good, we got some good candidates in this. We have a whole bunch of innocent, maybe not innocent, but naive Westerners coming to this shitty commune, or very seemingly nice commune in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, Sweden, and not making it out. So let's go. Dan, we're going to start with you because this is your movie. Why did someone die in Midsommar?
Oh, this is a fun one. I'm glad I get to go first because maybe I took somebody's. But
You like to poach.
watch where you pee. Don't pee on a sacred tree.
God damn it! That was the
sacred tree.
Oh man!
Watch where you fling your disgusting dick, as the Swedish guy said.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
So
Don't be.
otherwise someone's gonna be wearing your face and your skin.
Well, skip me. I gotta pick a new one.
Yeah. Oh no.
I knew someone was gonna have it because he's Will Poulter is such a good actor in general, but like he plays such a horrible dick in this, where you're just like every moment that he talks, I'm like, just stop talking, please. Just like he's always like,
The whole
I was
movie.
sleeping. Where was I? I didn't know. He's just like, you're just such a stereotypical American.
Everybody lie down.
Yeah.
Everybody lie down. He is fantastic in this, and he is the comic relief, and it's sad when he goes, but that's what a way to go. What a way to go.
Yeah.
Peeing on the grandpa tree.
I was not sad. I was not sad when he left.
I needed some relief. Sasha, you're next. What, Sasha?
No,
Why did someone die? Well, I wanted to give you the
Lord.
plenty of opportunities before Ryan and I poached some here. Why did someone die?
No.
in
that's
Midsommar.
fair. Well, Dan kind of stole mine.
everyone wanted the pea
Everyone's like
tree.
the tree.
Everyone wanted to pee on the
Such a good
ancestors.
reason. It's so great. It's such a reason to die. It's so funny.
They freak out.
Oh,
Oh,
of
man.
all the places.
Damn.
This happens to me all the time.
I
All
can
the
jump
time.
in if you
Yeah,
need
we
a
can
minute.
come
Give me
back.
a
We can
minute.
come back.
Go.
Pass it to Ryan.
Right.
Pass
All
it to
right,
Ryan.
all right.
Tag in.
Like
Tagging
that.
in Ryan. Ryan, why did someone die?
I'm gonna go with Josh. They specifically told him, "Hey, like this thing is sacred. You can't touch it. Like we'll tell you about what it means. We'll let you study the stuff, but don't take pictures of this book. This book is special." And the very first, he doesn't even wait a night. He doesn't
No.
wait. He doesn't
Goes
give it
right
any
for it.
time. It goes right for it. And frankly, there's they imply that one wall is a mirror. Like he's not even paying any attention to the fact that there's people, like he's so focused on taking photos that he doesn't see the mirrored wall, somebody walking up behind him with a huge ass hammer. Come on, man. Like have a little self-awareness if you're going to try and sneak and take with your flash on too. Like there's a giant light in the middle of the room and you're like, here we go. Let me flash.
Probably one of the dumber deaths in the movie, like most avoidable. Just don't. I mean, he's gonna die anyway. That they do reveal that at the end, they're all gonna die, but he definitely hastened the end.
I gotta say, there's a call. I got reminded there was a little bit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre first death and his death because he was like shaking on the ground. Did you get that? I don't know. He got hit on the head.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like tapping and I was like, oh, I'm getting flashbacks to Texas Chainsaw. Yeah.
Now, question: who was moaning? Was it him or was it Bjorn or whatever the guy's name was that he had a beef with him that was wearing Mark's face? Who was going? Or were they both going?
I think they both were doing it after, but I don't know who did it
yeah, that's a good
first.
question. I thought it was by this third watch. I thought it was the guy wearing the skin.
Or was
mask.
it the Deliverance incest kid off to the side going?
Yeah, I thought it was like I thought it was a combination of the prophet and the guy in the mask.
The prophet.
Who was wearing Mark's face?
I don't know what else to call him. He's supposed to be. He's a prophet, right?
He's an oracle. Is what
Oracle.
they call him.
Oracle's probably a better word.
Incestuous oracle.
Got a mighty pretty mouth there. Sasha, back to you. It's your turn. Why did someone die in Midsommar?
I think you can't be the only sane person in a horror movie. So Josh and Connie, they both, I'm piling them into one. They died because they actually were sane.
Mm-hmm. They were
They actually were like trying to leave and like getting out.
they
of
were the
it.
normal ones.
They were so stupid for
Yeah.
being normal in a horror movie. Like who fucking decides
You have
to
a
do that?
pretty nice relationship. You guys are really sweet
Yeah.
together. And you also have some
Yeah.
morality when it comes to seeing people blatantly murdered in the bright sunlight. You gotta go. We're gonna plant one of you in the garden. We're gonna blood eagle the other one.
I think one of the most ominous moments in that movie is the moment where Connie figures out that something's wrong. And they're like, oh, he went to the train station. Like we took him into town. And she's like, no, you didn't. Like there's like that moment of realization is like, so I felt like out of the whole movie, that was one of the more like actually genuinely terrifying moments of like, oh shit, something's really wrong. Because like I would know how that would feel in that moment. If that were to happen, I'd be like, there's no way in hell that would happen the way that you're describing, and just being powerless to do anything about it, right? Like at that point, you don't know where your partner is. You don't know what's occurred. You know they're lying to you, but you have no way out. They say the car's gone. Your partner's nowhere to be found, and you have no information. You have no way to contact them. Just the helplessness of that moment of like, I know you're lying, and I have no idea what I can do about it. And there's no way you're being honest with me. And what the fuck am I going to do? That is such a terrifying little nugget. And I think that they really that was a cool, really subtle thing in the whole movie that has very little to do with the plot, but it was just such a really cool moment.
Worst liar in history, Father Odd. Oh, there's only 2 seats in the car.
Yeah.
They're coming back for you. Lunchtime.
He's gonna come back for you.
Lunchtime. Lunch soon. Okay. Thank you. I am going to pick a fairly obvious one, Christian. First of all, don't go into a Scandinavian village with the name Christian. Right there, we discussed. That's just, you're asking to be burned alive.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Second of all, have a fucking spine, dude. That's the big one. I feel bad for him. He had to die because Ari Aster felt bad about breaking up with a chick once. All right? This guy, if he'd had a goddamn spine, I'd be able to say, look, this isn't working between us. I want to support you somehow, but I got to move on. You got to heal. This isn't working. Don't come with us to Sweden. Well, he would have died if he went to Sweden regardless. But if he had at least at some point in this movie done something to fix this relationship, then maybe he would be the first time in history that women didn't choose the bear.
Oh my god!
You see that?
Oh, you've been waiting the whole episode to make that joke, haven't you? Oh my god!
And with that, it's come to the time of the show where we've got to give our Scully Awards, ladies and gentlemen. We have to rate Midsommar. This is going to be an interesting round. I've killed Ryan.
I can't believe I didn't see that coming.
You didn't see that coming?
How in the world did I not see that coming?
I thought it was gonna come from you, Brian. To be honest, I thought you were gonna.
I didn't even think about it. I'm ashamed of myself. Oh my god!
It's okay. Next time we do a choose the bear reference, it'll be Dan's turn, or maybe Sasha will fit one in this episode. Who knows? But it is time to rate the movie. So, who would like? Yeah, I'm gonna throw it out there. Who wants to go first? Who's got their rating ready to go? Sasha is ready.
Sasha's hand went up big time.
Yeah.
Dictator Tot, bring it. What is your Scully rating for Midsommar?
I'm going to surprise you, I think. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Ooh.
Okay.
And even though I was very disappointed in the end, like you said, everything, the cinematography is so good. The way Ian put it was just so eloquent. I'm giving it an 8.5 as an art piece, not necessarily as a film, but as an art piece because of how passionate Ian was screaming about it. And I love how I felt when I was watching it and how I questioned everything about my own trauma, the way I am in relationships and cultural insensitivity. It's an 8.5. It was going to just be a 6 when I first started, actually. But I think because I love art that makes people rant and want to talk about shit. Even if it's not a great art piece, at least, the fucking banana duct taped to a wall, I hate that, but I love that it makes people mad. So it gets a pretty high rating solely because of that. I also want to rewatch it multiple times now.
Well, that's an interesting reaction. You gave it a high rating because it pissed me off. I see.
Yeah. Art should make people feel shit.
Ryan, what are your thoughts? What Scully rating would you give Midsommar?
So it's funny because I was also going to say an 8.5, and the irony of the fact that's the two of us saying 8.5. I think ultimately at the end of the day, it's hilarious that we ended up at the same score from what I imagine are fairly different perspectives. I think the cinematography and the coloring and the way that they present this movie is so brilliant. I know we didn't touch on that a whole lot, but I think that that's such a strong advocate for this movie. And it is a very unique experience. I haven't really seen a lot of movies that do what Midsommar does in the way that they try and just the journey that they take you on and the way that you feel and experience this movie. There are definitely, like I said, there are elements that I feel didn't hit all the way. I'm not a big fan of the whole, let's sit on the broken face thing. And I know that that's kind of the director's MO of that's kind of a thing that he does.
He loves head trauma. Yeah.
He loves it.
No joke. So not a big fan of that. And I think that it was just odd that really Pele's the only one who brings anyone. Like they have these people, and like I guess Pele's brother. Like there's only like 2 people in the whole place that bring people. Like there's like a couple weird things that I felt shaky and premise.
But his brother fails. The people that he bring are failures, and his brother gets burned as a result.
Oh.
His brother was one of the people that got burned. He sacrifices himself,
didn't realize
possibly
that.
as like a way of saying I'm sorry.
But that's the other thing is like I'm surprised that there are only 2 scouts, right? Like if this is a big 90-year tradition,
They've got 100
like,
people in the village. How many people do you think are of the correct age at one given time?
Okay, correct age is a valid point. I was just thinking like it feels odd that the number is so few of like they would just expect like every single person's going to be sacrificed and you guys have to bring this amount. It just, like there's like a couple weird shaky things like that for me that like
If you want plot holes, if they're bringing people to this remote Swedish village, it's not like they're bringing people that have no connections whatsoever. Like perhaps he did some sort of recon about their lives, but at some point the police are going to be like, why are people disappearing and all going to this village?
I wondered that too.
If you really want to get
correct.
into
and like
plot holes.
No, like but it's only once every 90 years, so maybe they can explain away 7 deaths or whatever of citizens. But like there's point is there's some weirdness that like is okay, but I kind of liked it. I didn't agree with the ending, which like normally bothers me a lot more. But like, I think that it was such a unique thing. And also just frankly, Florence Pugh is so strong in this movie and like so grounded as a character that like, it's hard to fault that. And so, yeah, 8.5. I think it's good. I'd recommend it with asterisks, but it's good.
I don't know if there'll be many movies on this show that you won't have to recommend with asterisks, Ryan, but Dan, it is your turn.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, no asterisks. Well, that's fair. That's fair.
That's true,
Amazing movie.
Agreed. Dan, your turn. We've got 2 8.5s so far from Sasha and Ryan. What do you give to Midsommar?
Wow. Well, I mean, surprisingly lower than that, but not by much. So I'm going to say 8. It's not, I just in this moment of talking, I almost even went lower because of your rant, honestly, Ian. Like you made some really valid points that I didn't think about. And you know why? It's because I think I identify with Danny so much as that people pleaser that she is in the movie. That's, I mean, I've come to understand that that's kind of the person that I am. And so I think as that people pleaser sort of person, you get locked into this tunnel vision. And so I viewed the movie in that way. And so hearing you and Ryan talk about this whole other thing, I can totally see that side. And so that's why I was like, you know what, maybe it is Ari Aster kind of just, being upset about his past and putting it out into this movie. But in the end, I'm not going to drop down to a 7 like I might have. I'm going to keep it up as an 8 because it is such a technically marvelous thing to look at. By that third one, I was just like, every frame is just like beautiful. I mean, her in pain heaving in this gigantic flowery dress that I'm like, the team that must have made that and like kept that on her body during that shot. And there's a building burning in the background. It's just incredible what this movie does and what it says. And the fact that we can like be so upset and supportive of it or be upset and not dislike it. I think like Sasha says, it's like really great art, upsets you. You want to talk about it. This movie can't be like, it's not black and white, how you can really take it. There's so many ways to go. So yeah, I think it's a solid 8 for me.
All right, fair enough. Well, funny trivia bit about that flower dress. The famous flower dress made of silk flowers was actually sold for $65,000 to the Academy Museum for Motion Pictures. It was counterbid along the way by Halsey and Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande, by the way, being a massive horror fan, love her for that. The girl has
That's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Wow.
she loved, and this is like one of her favorite movies too. So, all right, so we've got 2 8.5s and an 8, and now it's my turn after my rant about Midsommar and bitching and moaning ever since Dan picked it a couple of weeks ago that we were going to have to watch it. I was going to have to watch it again. I was not looking forward to it. And largely just because to me, it's not a fun experience to watch this movie. It's so well made and the emotions that it brings up, like I said, just the misanthropy and the frustration with how stupid humans could fucking be. It's just, it creates that just so vibrantly in me. And that's why I'm going to give it an 8.5, is because exactly like Sasha said, I can't argue that this is not great art. I can't argue that it's a movie not made by a genius, drawing from his own personal experiences. And like all great art is, it's drawn from personal experiences and your own perspective on that. So I can't take away from his art because personally it brings up horrible feelings in me, or I'm frustrated with him for his experience. At the end of the day, that was his experience, and this was him attempting to put that to film. And just because he did it in a way that I found frustrating in terms of conclusions that he came to, it doesn't make it any less of great art. And I don't think it's a perfect film by a long shot. I don't think Ari Aster has come close to making a perfect film yet, with Hereditary as well, also a nearly perfect film where he got thrown out by himself at home. I feel like this one just not quite there, but it just got so much that is brilliant about it. It's just an extremely frustrating film. It's unpleasant to watch, but for me, I can't stand watching it. I'm glad I don't have to watch it again unless we do it again on this show for some reason. I am curious about the director's cut, but not that curious. For me, 8.5 for Midsommar.
Oh, wow. We were all pretty close together.
Very close. All very close.
Yeah.
Also wild that Dan's the lowest
I'm the lowest,
score.
even though it's like my movie I brought. I'm surprised. I know. I was like, okay.
And you came in
That's
hot
insane.
about it. You
I
came
know.
in like, man, it was
I
so good to
know.
see this movie again. And
Well, also
Yeah, but like, I mean, but like you said, like it's not. I don't know. In my head, when I'm rating these movies, like a 9 and 10 are like these perfect
right.
horror iconic films that completely set the genre into a new direction. Whereas, like, even though this movie is technically beautiful and brilliant to look at, I mean, you see all the nods to Kubrick in it. Like, you see the things that he's been influenced by in it. So it's not like he's giving you this totally new like take on something. It's just so brilliantly done. So that's why it's
Kubrick
like not
and
like a 9 or
Polanski,
10.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Polanski's, I think, is a huge influence on this movie. His Macbeth, his 1970s Macbeth, Tess, like, I think that's a huge influence as well. Like, yeah, I mean, this movie wears its influences wide open on its sleeve.
It's just the fact that Ian's out here lamenting this movie and then it ends up with a score higher than Dan.
He's like, it's a 10. I hated it. It's a 10.
What in the world?
Just because it's deeply frustrating doesn't mean it's not a good piece of art, as Sasha so eloquently said. But with that, Dan, you are out of a prompt. You're out of a movie.
I gotta get my bucket.
You're naked. Get your
The
bucket.
vessel of doom.
You're running around like Christian after banging a weird Swedish redhead.
Now that we have video going,
Get your
this is the famous
It's the bucket.
Trick-or-treat bucket.
Trick or treat bucket. So hands in there. Let's see what I pick.
Oh, drum
All right,
roll.
I got one. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
I'm beyond thrilled. And I'm
What it?
Just tell me.
Oh.
It's Slasher.
No way! That's our first repeat. Okay.
Do we allow repeats?
Wait, we had a repeat?
That's the question. So that's the question.
Yeah.
Well, so I got Slasher before, remember?
Oh, you did get Slasher.
So now we have an interesting question because we've never encountered this. We've got a repeat prompt. Are we willing to retread ground in different directions?
I don't mind choosing a new one if we want to make it new.
I'm cool either way.
Let's put it to a vote. Sasha, repeat, yay, nay. You're the dictator. You tell us.
Yeah, nay.
Oh,
Nay.
no.
New
repeats.
one.
Okay.
Okay, new
All right,
one.
here we go.
Nay.
I got a new one. I got a good one, and this is just as good. This
Exactly.
is incredible.
Okay.
There's so many directions to go. You ready?
He needs a challenge.
Suspense.
Oh.
Oh,
Suspense.
I
Beautiful.
think that's more exciting.
This is fantastic. There's so many ways to go. in
Yes.
that, so there you
Wide,
go. Suspense.
wide open.
I'm
If
glad
you
you
don't-
picked a good one because I felt bad that you were like, yeah, and then we were like, ah.
I totally forgot that you got Slasher already. Yeah. All right.
Good
Not sure what were you
try.
gonna say?
I say if you don't pick a good one, I'm rioting and boycotting the podcast. I love anxiety.
Oh, so you okay?
No wonder you gave Midsommar an 8.5, because there's one thing that Ari Aster can do really
the whole
well.
time I'm like
It's
sweating.
anxiety. His movies are
Yeah.
very
Hey,
good.
Just so everyone in the world can know, I have anxiety. I've had anxiety for like my whole life, and I love horror or any suspense, anything like that, because it's controlled anxiety. While I am going for at least an hour to 2 hours or whatever, I am going into a scenario that I know is going to make me anxious. So suspense, yes. So you got a lot of pressure on you, Dan.
Oh,
'cause
man.
I want to watch
Oh.
whatever you pick,
Oh.
and I want to feel anxious the entire time.
Oh,
All
okay.
right,
That's
Dan.
good. That's good notes. That's good notes.
You'll be on the spot when it's time to pick your movie in 2 weeks, however, or 2 shows. But right now, it's my turn to tell you guys what I'm picking for our next show. And if you recall, my prompt was Clive Barker.
Oh.
Which remind me who Clive Barker is.
Oh,
Oh my God.
Ryan.
I don't know
look.
who it is.
Just a reminder. I just asked for a reminder.
Clive Barker is a very famous horror writer, director, author, artist.
You guys, half of the premise of the show is that I'm new to horror, and then you guys are like, how do you not know this horror legend?
That's
and
true.
I'm like,
Good point.
what do you want from me?
The other half of the premise of this show, Ryan, is us being disgusted by what you don't know.
That's true.
And then doing our best to introduce you to all of this stuff as well, and then getting your reaction, which is why this is so much fun, which is why, because you said, who's Clive Barker, I couldn't go too deep into his catalog and too out of like the mainstream Clive Barker stuff, but it's also why I am, for the first time on this show, going to do something that we've discussed, but we've never actually done. And that is...
Oh, is it time?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to cast a hex on you, boys. Bam! Bam!
What?
Bam! I am calling in the hex. That means I can choose to make us do, in this case, a double feature.
Oh.
And
He's
that means
adapting.
For the next 3 picks, that means Dan, your pick. That means Ryan, your next pick, which I believe the prompt is camera. We are all
That's correct.
going to
I still
do
got camera.
a round of double features.
Oh. Sasha's going to be double anxious from my pick?
That's right. And in double suspense. But not to keep you guys in double suspense, I'm going to reveal what my double feature for Clive Barker is going to be, and that is going to be Hellraiser, but not just the original Hellraiser from 1987. It's going to be the 2022 reboot/remake of Hellraiser.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know they made a new one.
Oh, Netflix,
they
right?
did. That's Hulu. But yes.
Hulu. Oh,
So
Hulu,
we are
that's
not
right.
only going to review the classic Hellraiser and finally introduce Ryan to one of my favorite movies of all time, we're going to be able to discuss it against the modern remake and all that entails. So I'm very much looking forward to this.
I'm going to throw out there, just because at this point, it's a mandatory mention on the podcast. The most I know about Hellraiser is due to Dead by Daylight's rendition of Pinhead.
Okay.
He is a killer in Dead by Daylight. They have the lamentation configuration, and when somebody uses it, he can teleport and say, "You summoned me, and I came."
Yes. I love the fact that our dedicated listeners are listening to the show. Every time you mention Dead by Daylight, if they're playing a drinking game, they're taking shots, and they're going to end up in the hospital.
Hey, we've all got it. It's Dead by Daylight for me. It's New French Extremity for you. And then I don't even know. Actually, Dan's probably the one that doesn't have like a catchphrase
I don't think
at
I have
this
a
point.
thing, huh?
Oh,
You have a
you're
thing.
enthusiastic about everything. I just don't know if you have like a thing that you mention consistently. Actually, you know what it is? I think it's at least usually it seems to be. I think less of this movie after we've all.
Yeah, that's true. I really love this movie until we talked about it.
I used to like this movie, and now that we talked about it, I don't like it.
After hearing you guys talk about it, my score's
gone down.
Yeah.
Totally is. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to our show reviewing Midsommar. Thank you so much to Sasha, Dictator Tot,
Thank you, Sasha.
for coming in and helping us get through Midsommar, talking about all of the aspects of it. And of course, thank you very much for being willing to come and be in front of our listeners and join us on this crazy show that we do here. And thank you also for being a listener as well. And thank you as well for putting up with Ryan. We know how it is. You know, it's just...
what can I say?
Yeah, oh my God. I'm just glad you guys can steal him for a couple hours every once in a while.
Oh!
Oh, wow.
She says this, and today's Best Friends Day, and she says this to me on the recording.
Oh!
I do love him. I think he's great.
Aw.
I bash him a lot. He ruins movies, but, also gets to introduce me to cool people that help also ruin movies.
Oh,
Yay! How appropriate. I love the fact that your relationship has survived watching Midsommar, because it's definitely not a date movie, and I apologize for that. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you all for listening. Guys, this has been an awesome time. We really appreciate you listening. Thanks for checking us out. Thank you to Sasha for joining us today. For Ryan Ross Live, for Dan Marcha Madness, I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and this has been...
This is why you die.